Hi guys, and welcome back. Today's video is a modification to my boat utility trailer conversion. You can see that it's been pretty beat up from the use and being out in the weather. I don't know how many loads of stone for a French drain that I hauled with this, and mulch that I picked up, and a few tractors from time to time. If you recall, when I built this trailer, I have it on these hinges where these hinges could come out. These panels come off, and I could use it also as a flatbed. When I pick up these lawn tractors, I'm usually by myself, so it's quite a job. I bought this Harbor Freight Winch quite a while back. Just didn't have the time to install it. I did a video on this Harbor Freight Winch a while back. Wasn't sure how I was going to install it at the time, so this just sat in the box for I don't know how long. And in the video I mentioned that you have to purchase this mounting plate separately. You do need this plate. Or you could rig up some angle line to serve the same purpose. Now over here in this section, I was considering installing a toolbox. That's why I didn't bring the trailer all the way forward. And what I'm going to do is to mount that winch on the tire mount, the spare tire mount. What happens when I back this trailer into my yard, this tire bottoms out. I'm backing up onto hills and all kinds of angles, and this tire always bottoms out, so I have to take it off when I back out anyway. So I'm going to use this mounting plate, and I'm going to get it onto this tire mount. I'm trying to mount this using everything that I have available. You have these bolts that we're holding the tire on, this plate, and there's nuts and bolts that came with the winch. I'm trying to do this with as little welding as possible, because the whole idea with this is that I could take this apart and use it again as a boat trailer. The tools I'm going to use are a drill with a wire brush, a flap on a grinder, and I do have my trusty Harbor Freight welder here. I believe there's going to have to be some welding that's going to have to be done. This is galvanized. You got to be careful when you weld in galvanized. It gives off this gas. I'm going to grind this metal plate down to pull off as much of the galvanized coating as possible to weld this plate on. So now the job is to mount this winch to the spare tire bracket. Now I have that winch mounting plate attached to the spare tire plate by using the bolt that was for the tire. I had to cut it down, it was a little too long. I used the hole that was in the plate already, but I had to enlarge it to get that nut in. And this nut on the bottom was the hole that was in the plate. I had to drill another hole into the backing plate. Take you around this side. I did put a bead of weld around it just to secure it, to make sure if these bolts should ever loosen up that this plate won't fall off. And save the comments on the weld, I already know. With that said, that weld, I painted it to keep the rust off it, because I did get the galvanize off that plate. I used this Rust-Oleum can I had laying around, happened to be silver. So now let's get back to the other side. We have the mounting plate held on by the weld and these two bolts. Now this large bolt and this hole over here, I'm going to have another nut and bolt that's going to hold the winch on. This roller fair lead is attached by mounting it to the mounting bracket that the winch is attached to. Here's how I have it bolted in the front. Now I have to point out this roller fair lead extends below the bracket. This caused a little bit of a problem. Try to show you. This hole lines up with the roller fair lead slightly below it. So I had to enlarge that hole on top and on the bottom. You can see I used the longer bolts over here. because I had to use the shorter ones to mount the winch to the bracket. If you recall earlier, I mentioned I wasn't going to hook up this winch to the battery, but I was going to use this battery jumper to power the winch. Now just hook up the black lead to the negative, the red lead to the positive, turn the switch, and it works. I'm thinking about not using the remote for different reasons. I'm just using this jumper with the on-off switch for the jumper. It works this way, and there's less hanging on to the trailer. Now, just as a recap, I have the winch mounted to the mounting plate with this nut and bolt. I have the mounting plate mounted to the spare tire bracket with this nut and bolt. I have the winch, the mounting plate, together mounted to the spare tire bracket with this large nut and bolt. And we have the weld in the back. After a little more consideration, I decided to use the controls. Back here, I have mounted the relay box. I wanted to mount it to the bracket, but for time's sake, and I just didn't have the material right now, I'm just going to put a piece of angle line over here and mount it that way. Just drill through this with the angle line and then mount the box to the angle line. For now, I have it zip tied to the bracket, coming out to the other side. You see I have it zip tied to the top hole that's in that relay and the bottom. Now, the main reason I decided to use the controls is because of this inline fuse. I don't plan on pulling anything heavy other than some lawn tractors, occasionally some logs for firewood, and this is rated for 2,500 pounds, but there's the safety factor. Now, this fuse has the terminals exposed. For the time being, I'm just going to put some tape around here so it doesn't short out. Now, to use this, simply connect it to the battery jumper, black to black, red to red. And the remote, the instructions say to hold this button down for 3 seconds until the blue light comes on. There we go, light's on. Turn the power on, and let's see what happens. Okay, the unwinding works, the reverse. Now let's see if it retracts. That also works. Now off camera I pulled the spare tire back and forth. That's no indication to how powerful it is, but it does work. Turn this remote off. It says to hold the control for 3 seconds till the light goes out. That works. Okay, so that's safe. Turn the power off. Disconnect the wires. Now the problem is what to do with these wires. So I decided just to wrap it around this post and use a piece of wire to hold it to keep it from unraveling. You can see where I have the inline fuse taped so it doesn't short out. Now I just want to mention, this isn't a recommendation on how to mount this winch and wire it. I had to get it done. I have a tractor that I have to go pick up, and for the time being, this is going to have to do. And for now, guys, this is a wrap. If you have any comments, post them below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Until next time, stay safe.